Hello, I am Horrorama, and today I have found 4 intriguing stories and experiences that multiple people have posted on various subreddits. But before we begin, I did want to ask you that if you end up enjoying my narrations, then please do consider liking and subscribing, as that really does help the channel a lot. And also, if you have any kind of experience or story that you would like to share and have it be narrated on this channel, then please do check out the subreddit in the description below. But either way, without any further ado, let's get into the narrations. The first story has been posted by user Haunting Result. So for context, this happened about 7 months ago. I'm just now posting this because I've been thinking about it lately, and I thought maybe I could share my experience and finally give myself some information from other people's opinions on this story. This is 100% real, and my girlfriend was with me at the time for credibility that I wasn't tripping or drunk or whatever else. I live in Tennessee. I was completely sober, slept fine the night before. Nothing was interfering with me to make this up in my head. I don't have any medical conditions other than ADHD. This story happened, I would say, around 12 or 1 a.m. So I own a small shed next to my house. I have a TV in the shed, so some nights I'll go out and hang out by myself and chill watching some movies. My girlfriend was over at the time, so we decided to go watch a movie that came out around that time. I have a pretty decent setup in there, so it's better than watching it in there than in the house. Anyways, I always leave out of the back door when I go to the shed, and most of the time I usually leave it open until I come back in. I live in a not all that populated and non-sketchy neighborhood, so there's usually no problems with people being around to break in or anything. At the time I owned a dog that was in the final stages of being deaf and blind. She was a small Yorkie Shih Tzu mix. She could barely see anything, if anything at all. Can you see where this is going? I go back into my house after the movie, and I go to the bathroom and notice I don't hear my dog walking around doing her nightly blind walks in the house. Usually she'll snoop around the house for no reason, but I think it's because she couldn't see much, or maybe she was getting dementia. So I look absolutely everywhere in the house, and she's nowhere to be seen. Me and my girlfriend are both dumbfounded, and we start thinking she somehow managed to leave through the back door. Take note, you have to go from the hallway to my room, to a back room, to a back door, to the back porch that's raised about 4 to 5 feet off the ground. So we decided that we'll look around outside, just in case she somehow managed to get lost and come out to the back porch and fell off. She had to have fell off, because it's a pretty big drop, and she was almost completely blind. Well, we look for a bit, and still nothing. Absolutely no sign of her anywhere. No sign of a fall. Didn't hear any squeals when we were in the shed. Nothing. There's literally no sign she ever got out, but we searched everywhere. So there's a small patch of woods behind my house, and I thought if she escaped, surely she couldn't be too far away. So we start walking out to the small woods to look for her. I have my phone flashlight, and my girlfriend is walking with me. All of a sudden, I start hearing a few leaves crunching, and I thought, thank God I found my dog. I put my flashlight over where I heard the leaves crunching, and I see a hooded figure. They're probably about 20 feet away, or maybe even more, and they just slowly walk until I shine my flashlight on them, at which point they come to a complete stop. I end up taking the flashlight off of them, and I tell my girlfriend there's somebody snooping around out here, and we should probably go back in. Next thing you know, I hear the leaves crunching again, and I turn the flashlight towards where the guy was, and I can't believe my eyes. The guy must have dropped the cloak or whatever he was wearing, because what I saw was a strangely tall man sprinting deeper into the woods. This guy was absolutely faster than anyone I've ever seen before. As soon as I see it do that, my whole body was just hit with a big wave of cold chills, like I can't even explain it. I absolutely book it, almost even leaving my girlfriend behind. After we got back into the house, I asked her what she had seen, and she told me she didn't get to see it. She only heard the leaves crunching, like something was running really fast. I absolutely couldn't believe my eyes till this day. I still don't know what or who that guy was. I never found my dog, and I never found any proof she even got out. We've checked every crevice of the house, and even asked people on Facebook if anyone has seen her. Nobody ever did, and unfortunately now she's just a memory. But it still makes me think to this day if that guy I saw is somehow connected with my dog disappearing. I keep thinking that this guy had somehow gotten into my house and stolen her. But why? She was just a blind old dog. What reason would anyone have to do that? And why? This is all just so confusing. But if anyone has maybe experienced something similar, please do reach out. The next story is composed by user mindless:@7590. About 5 years ago, I had a series of dreams involving a Wendigo over a few weeks. It all began when I spotted a strange-looking animal quite a distance away. In the first dream, my father, a friend, and I were driving on a paved road in the woods. I noticed a deer following us in the tree line while we were going 55 miles per hour. I pointed out, but no one believed me, dismissing it as my imagination. The next morning, I woke up feeling uneasy about the dream. A week later, I had a very similar dream. This time, we ended up at a house in the woods. Thinking we had lost the deer on a heavily wooded, winding road. As we got out of the truck, I felt this strange sense of being watched. When I turned around, I saw the same deer, but something was off. Its eyes were missing, and its hide was matted. I woke up a few hours later, struggling to breathe and sweating. Another week passed, and the dream evolved. The deer now stood on its hind legs, about 8 feet tall, with antlers resembling tree branches. It had missing patches of flesh all over. It emitted an unnatural cry, as if someone were being torn apart, and then began hitting me with its hooves. In the midst of the struggle, I heard a voice saying, "Fight back or die." Despite being hit numerous times, for each of my blows I persisted. After hours of fighting into the dark, a warm light emanated from within me. I continued, sensing that creature's determination to win. As morning arrived, it finally gave up, returned to all fours, turned away, and walked back into the woods. Suddenly, it stopped, looked back, and warned me to keep fighting before disappearing. Inside the house, I encountered an old man I had never met before. He commended my fight, but suggested I wash up as I looked terrible. Upon waking up, I felt sore all over, as if I had actually been in a physical battle, and extremely tired. The next story is imposed by user embarrassed_disc5811. My father told me to never whistle while hunting. Today I found out why. I am a 27-year-old man, Dustin, and I've been living in northern Canada my whole life. With this, it means I have been hunting many times throughout my years. I've been hunting since I was able to walk. Sure, it gets repetitive, but there's something about it I've always enjoyed. It may be the thrill of finding an animal I've hunted for myself, or just the thought of me being able to get out of the city and have some time to myself. But whatever it is, it keeps bringing me back to the sport. I have a girlfriend who I've been with for the past 5 years, who's never really enjoyed the thought of me killing innocent animals, but she never held it against me as her father was a hunter himself. One thing she does dislike is when I go out on my own, as she fears for my safety, as there are many bears around my land. Although she feels nervous about it, I always assure her I will be okay, and she does not need to worry about me. It was the same tonight. As I got ready to start my drive to the country, my girlfriend had asked me to be safe, and to go drop a gift off at my father's house for his birthday we had not been able to attend. This was not a problem for me, as he had lived on the edge of the town, towards where I was going. I had told my girlfriend I loved her, and then made my way to drop the gift off. Once I'd made it to my dad's house, I had given him his gift and began to talk with him for a little bit. During our conversation, I had brought up that I was going hunting, which had instantly made my dad's expression change. As he looked at me, he said, "Do you remember the rule?" I replied with some anger, "Yes, I know to never whistle while hunting." My father apologized for telling me all the time, and said he just wanted to keep me safe. I had asked him many times why I couldn't whistle, but he always said to listen to him and not ask questions, which made me stay quiet this time. He wished me luck, and I went on my way, beginning the drive through the countryside. As I was driving, the way my dad's face changed when I told him I would be hunting stuck in the back of my mind with an uneasy feeling. I thought nothing of it once I had arrived at the approach to my field. As I got out of the truck, I saw down the road, in the ditch, there had been a truck seemingly left abandoned. This was odd to me, as there is no civilization close to here for someone to leave their truck. I brushed it off as someone just driving off the road while texting or not paying attention. As I made my way through the field, it felt unnaturally quiet. Usually a bird was chirping, or the rustling of the trees blowing in the wind, but today there was nothing but complete silence. As I reached my hunting blind on the other side of the field, I had sat down and began to wait. While waiting, I decided to text my girlfriend that I had made it safe, that I had dropped off the gift. Looking down at my phone, I saw I had no service. Weird, I thought to myself. I had at least one bar here all the time, which was just enough to get a message through. As I was looking at my phone, I looked up and realized a deer was making its way towards my bait. I had gotten ready with my rifle as the deer approached. Once it had stopped moving, I took the chance to shoot and hit it perfectly, dropping it right where it had been standing. In celebration, I stood up and ran over to see it and put the tags on. After that was finished, I made my way back over to the truck. As I was walking, the darkness approached, and the silence of my surroundings made me feel uneasy. I had decided to ignore my dad's silly rule and started whistling, as I didn't have to worry about scaring anything away anymore. I continued humming until I hopped into the truck, driving back to where I had shot the animal. Once I reached the spot, I couldn't see it anywhere. This worried me, as I thought the deer had not been dead and it had escaped. I was proved right when I saw a trail of blood leading into an unseen part of my field. As I drove around the trees into this little unseen part, my heart sank. In front of me was my deer, but wrapped around it was a large mouth with teeth so sharp they could bite the thing in half. I looked in horror as this thing, which had to at least been 10 feet tall, ate my deer and then stared directly at my truck. This was my sign to get out of there, and with that I slammed my truck into drive and whipped it around to drive out of there. I didn't want to look back in fear of what I was going to see. Right before I made it to the end of my field, I felt my back tire get jerked, which I can only assume was sliced open by that thing's claws or teeth. This had sent my truck rolling onto the roof, deep into the bush, and heavily injured my leg. My only hope for survival was that thing not noticing me and leaving. The next story has been posted by user You Wanter the Keys Knows. This encounter took place 3 years ago, and I recently stumbled upon this subreddit, feeling compelled to share my story because it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was a chilly night in late November in Boulder, Colorado. A few friends and I were casually driving around, smoking and drinking beers. We aimlessly traversed the town, engaged in conversation, and enjoyed ourselves. Prior to this, I had read stories and watched videos about native elders discussing the Wendigo, and the subject intrigued me. One of my friend's girlfriends, who was Native American, confirmed she had heard of the Wendigo. Continuing our aimless drive, we went up the mountain past a place known as Flagstaff, situated on the Flatirons of Boulder. It was a dense, dark, wooded area far from the city, appearing beautiful by day, but emanating an eerie and spooky feel at night. I had been there many times at night, always sensing a deep intuition that something malevolent lingered, especially in winter. This feeling predated my knowledge or belief in the supernatural or the spiritual. I had even witnessed orange lights on Flagstaff mountains and above them, along with the stories of orange bell-shaped lights in the area. We stopped at a common hiking spot in the parking spaces right in front of the trailhead. Suddenly, I felt a surreal darkness and a deep sense of mystery about the spot. While my friends chatted, I zoned out, gazing into the pines. In the moonlight, I saw little kids running back and forth, hiding behind the trees. I immediately sensed something wrong. Kids wouldn't be out at 3 a.m. in winter, and their unnatural, darting movements made it clear. Intrigued and somewhat hypnotized, I continued watching. The kids started running in a circle, and a blurring mist began to form. Out of this mist, a creature took shape. A slender white figure with an unnaturally gaping jaw, its long hands moving in a dance-like fashion, all while staring directly at me. Both the kids and the creature seemed to fade in and out of physical reality like spirits. At the time, I had never heard of the black-eyed children, but now I suspect that's what those kids were. I shared what I saw with my friends, but they thought I was joking. Both the Wendigo and the kids quickly vanished from sight. The level of detail in the experience was so vivid that I am confident it wasn't my mind playing tricks on me. While searching for these stories, I kept noticing a trend that has been a problem for me for quite some time. People seem to not know what a skinwalker is, so we decided that, although not qualified, but honestly, what kind of qualifications even are there for talking about the paranormal? I would still try to explain just what skinwalkers are and just share a bit of my knowledge about them, which I have gathered from listening to stories and talking to people who claim to know about them in a future video. But either way, I do hope you enjoyed my narrations. But even if you didn't, I want to wish you a good rest of your day.